Luz y progreso. Gracias a la misericordia. This is Sancista Brujo Luis. I got a few questions this week by clients who are asking me, when I prepare reguardos, what element do I use to bless them? So here I have a couple of reguardos, okay, that I'm preparing for some clients, and I just wanted to, touch a video on the elements, okay? Because I thought that was a really interesting question when someone asked me, what element do you use when you consecrate and bless your reguardos? And in reality, I use all four elements, and then the fifth being the spirit. Which also got me thinking about the altars. When we're working our altars, a lot of people don't know that all four elements, and then with the four, we incorporate the spirit is in some form represented in our altars. So I thought that would be an interesting video to do. So I'm just going to do a basic run through of the four elements and how they are used in spirituality and how I personally use them. If you've seen previous videos of mine, you're always going to see that I'm always using los elementos, the elements, in my spiritual work and in my magical work. Magical work one hand, spiritual work one hand, but I use all four elements in everything that I do. Everything that I do, I incorporate the four elements, and the spirit being within me, la che de Dios being with inside me. So I thought that would be a cool video just to do a really basic introduction on the four elements and how I use them or how I view them in my spiritual and magical traditions. So I hope you'll stay tuned and watch. So let's start with the four basic elements and how we use them in our altars. What do we use to represent these elements within our altars? If one of these elements is missing in your altar, then you have to readjust it and add it into your altar. So I'm just going to give you some basic visuals of elements and how I use them in my altars. And we're going to start with incense, el incenso. And incense represents the element of air. Okay, and in my altar you will always see incense burning. And again, this represents the element of air. On my altars you will always see a candle, a lit candle. This represents the element of fire, fuego. My altar, you will see water, agua, los fluidos. This, of course, represents the element of water. And you will always see plants, flowers, or something. I got them over there. Or something with earth, whether it's salt or something that represents an earth, a plant inside. The plant itself represents earth. But right here I took a plant with dirt. Okay, and this of course represents the element of earth. Okay, and they are all represented in everything that I do, in all my in my altars, in my spiritual work, in my magical work. So I wanted to give you a visual of the four elements and how I use them in my spirituality. Now we have associated a color and a direction to the four elements within our, just so we can grasp these things. So I'm going to show you candles that I use just so you can see. Yellow. Yellow represents the element of air, okay? And air is in the direction of the east, of the rising sun. So I use, or a lot of spiritual people use yellow to represent the element of air. Red is used to represent the element of fire, fuego, and that is the direction of that is south. Then we have water. Water is blue is represented by the element of water, and that is in the west. Okay, the direction, it represents the direction of the west. And then lastly, but not if we have green. Green represents the element, green or brown can represent the element of earth, okay, and that is in the direction of the north. And of course, white is the element, combination of all of them, to create the element of spirit, and that's in the center, as above so below. But again, air, east. Fire, south. Water, west. Earth, north. Each of the elements are used to represent a guardian angel, an angel, an angelic being. So we're going to start with air, air being yellow, the direction of east of the rising sun, and this is represented by the archangel Raphael. Right here we have a fire. Fire being the direction of the south represents the archangel Michael. Blue, representing the west, which is water, is represented by the archangel Gabriel. And then lastly, green, representing the north, earth, is represented by the archangel Uriel. We also give them an elemental spirit to each of the four directions. Yellow, represented air. It is the elements, the spiritual elements of the sylphs, which are spirits of air. Fire, of course, south, red, is the spirits, salamanders, spirits of fire. Blue, which is water, west, is the spirits, the undine, las sirenas, the spirits of water. And then we have earth, the green, which is north, and I use this to represent dryad spirits, spirits of trees, gnomes, okay, ancient spirits of the land, of the earth. Just wanted to, just show you a quick introduction to that. It goes deeper than that, but just so you can get a quick visual of how I use the candles or the colors to represent the elements. Okay, I think in the video it'd be east is over here. Okay, then we have fire, water, and earth. I don't know if you can see them in the visual of the camera. The elements also represent seasons. They're represented in a lot of things within our lives, and we just don't really visualize it or see it. But they're also represented by seasons, the four seasons. So we're going to start with yellow. Yellow, being air, is represented by the season of spring. Okay. Then we have red. Red, being south, is the season of summer, the hot air. Then we have blue. Blue, representing the element of water, is represented by the season of autumn. And then we have green or brown, which is north. That is the element, I'm sorry, not the element, the season of winter. So we have spring, summer, fall, winter. So now let's use this visual of the candles to represent stages in life. We're going to cut the stages into 4 stages of life. The sun rises in the east, being the element of air, and we're using the candle color yellow. That is represented of birth and childhood, okay? And this is east. We're cutting it down to 4 stages of life. Red, being south, okay, is represented by young adulthood, teenagers, okay? So this right here is from birth to around 16 years old. This is in, around 20, birth to 21 or so. This is 20s and 30s. This is your south. This is young adulthood. Blue, represented by water, is adulthood. This is your 40s and your 50s and so on, okay? And then lastly is your green. Green is represented by earth, and it represents senior citizens, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So we cut that into 4 stages of life. We have childhood to adolescence, young adults, adults, and seniors. Okay, remember that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Okay, it's already setting in the west. And then remember that the darkest season of the year is the winter, which is, again, longest, and it starts growing, spring is we're getting into it starts growing longer. It's the longest day of the year, which is June 22nd, and we go into the fall, which is adulthood, and then we go into a senior citizen, which is now entering into the winter stage of your life. I hope this makes sense. So again, we are talking about the 4 elements. Earth, okay, air, represented by the incense, the air, fire, while white represents the spirit, and water. All these 4 elements should be represented in your spiritual work and in your altars. Now we're going to cut this down a little bit further. In many forms of Western traditions, forms of divination, you will see that the 4 elements are represented by suits. Okay, whether it's the tarot deck or whether it's just a plain deck of cards. And of course, we're going to start with East, which is air, and in the tarot, that is represented, at least for me, that is represented by the wands or the clubs. Okay, Psalm 23 says, "And thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me." Okay, so that's also in the Bible, but this to me represents the element of a East, air. Okay, the realm of the spirit coming forward. Then we're going to go, and this is in divination. Okay, then we're going to go, put this over here. Then we're going to go into the south. Okay, now in the tarot cards, the south is represented by the sword. Okay, and the sword in a playing deck cards is, I think it's the spades. Then we're going to go into west, which is represented by the chalice. Okay, the chalice or the heart, our emotions, water. Okay, and then lastly, and hopefully I haven't lost you, but lastly we have a north. I'm losing myself. North in the tarot is represented by the pentacles, or in the playing cards is represented by the diamonds. Okay, so we have, I'm going to wipe it away, air, fire, water, earth. Okay, and the playing cards, bastones. Bastones are clubs. Okay, the dagger, the sword, spades, the chalice, the heart, and then the pentacle, the diamonds, or the coins. Okay, which is represented by earth. Okay, this represents the element of air. The sword of San Miguel represents the element of fire. Okay, which is red. The chalice, which is water, which is west, blue. And lastly, but not least importantly, the pentacle, the coin, the diamonds is represented by earth, green or brown. And you can see that in the tarot deck, and you can see that in the 52 playing cards. In the tarot deck, we also have, this is the minor arcana. The major arcana is represented by the Fool's Journey, which is the spirit. Okay, those 22, 21, 22 cards is the Fool's Journey, and that is the journey of the spirit, and that is represented by the soul. And hopefully I haven't lost you in these visuals. When God, Dios Todopoderoso, Bondie, the cause of all causes, created humans, he or she created humans in his likeness. And we are a universe within ourselves, in the likeness of God. We are not God. We are of God, but we are not God. And when God created us, he placed within us the four basic elements, and of course the spirit, the soul. But we're going to break down the four elements and how they pertain to our physical body and our five senses. Let's start with the five. Do I want to start with the five senses? Let's start with cutting the body into four equal parts. We're going to cut just mentally draw a stick figure, and from the nose to the top of your head, that is represented by the element of air, and that's where we think. Okay, that's where we think. Thinking comes from the element of air. We're going to go from the tip of the nose to a little bit above the heart. That is where we taste, and that is where we smell. Also, this right here represents the element of hearing. But anyways, this right here is represented from the nose to the throat. A little bit is represented by the element of water. From there, from a little bit below the heart, all the way down to your groin area, that is represented by the element of fire. And your legs, from your groins to your legs, that is represented by the element of earth. Our legs ground us. We need our legs to walk on this earth, and we use our head to think, to meditate, to concentrate. Air, which is the head, and then north, which is this way actually, but as above, so below. We use our feet to ground ourselves. Okay, so we think and we ground. Now we're going to use the five senses and how they're represented by the four elements. Now we're going to see how the elements work with our five senses. I'm going to start with my eyes, which is to see, my ear, which is to hear, my nose and mouth. My nose is to smell, and my mouth is to taste, and then my sentences, what I feel, what I touch, and how they work with the elements. The first thing is sight is ruled by the element of fire. People can ask me, how is a sight ruled by the element of fire? Well, without light, you cannot see. You turn off that candle, it'll be darkness. So sight is ruled by the element of fire. Okay, then we have hearing, noises. Anything that we hear or anything that we listen to goes through the sound barrier, and that goes through the sense of hearing, and that is ruled by the element of air. Okay, and I don't want to miss anything. We have the nose and the mouth, and the nose and the mouth is ruled by the element of water. Okay, you cannot taste, and you cannot smell without water particles in the air to give the sense of tasting, and you cannot smell anything if there's no aromas in the air particles. So smelling and tasting is ruled by the element of water. And lastly, touching, feeling. I feel this shirt upon me, I feel this hat upon me, that is ruled by the element of earth. Okay, so everything that you see is ruled by the element of fire. Without fire, you cannot see, you will be in darkness. Anything that you hear is ruled by the element of air. Anything that you smell and you taste is ruled by the element of water. And anything that you feel, physically touch you, is ruled by the element of earth. So one of the things that I always tell my godchildren, my hados, and my students is to develop to learn how to develop your spiritual faculties. What are your spiritual faculties that you've been given to by God, and how to develop them? And in a previous video that I'll probably leave a link below, I think I did a video on how to develop these spiritual faculties. Now we can use them as in, I'm going to explain it as in the eight clairs, which is clairvoyance, clairsentience, and all that, and how they pertain to the elements. Okay, and some people are born very strong with a facultad, a spiritual faculty, which is a sentience. I'm trying to say this all at once without getting confused, but I want to show you how they pertain to the elements. So I wrote some notes because I don't want to get lost. But we're going to start with clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is to clear see. Okay, to see the world of the spirit, and that is ruled by the element of fire. Okay, and then we have clairaudience. Clairaudience is to hear, spiritually hear, develop your spiritual hearing. First, develop your spiritual sight. Okay, and that again is ruled by fire. Okay, to see into the veil of darkness. Okay, then we're going to have a clairaudience, which is to hear through the veil of the spiritual world. Clairaudience is ruled by the element of air. Then we have clairsalience. Clairsalience is clear smelling. Clear smelling is to smell aromas from the world of spirit or from the astral planes, not the physical plane, but from a different plane. That is ruled by the element of water. Then we have clairgaustience. Clairgaustience is to clear taste. Sometimes we get flavors from that you can taste the flavor. Again, that is ruled by the element of water. Then we have clairsentience, to physically feel something touch us. Okay, and that is ruled by the element of earth. Okay, then we have clairtangency. Clairtangency is you ever feel like something is touching you but not physically touching you? Okay, not physically touching you like this, but you can feel something in your aura. Like you place your hand over something and you feel someone's pass by you so close. That is clairtangency. That is ruled by the element of spirit. Then we have clairognience. Clairognience is clear knowing. Once you develop these four, the first four that I said, you're going to go into the realm of spirit. And clairognience is ruled by spirit. And clairempathy. Clairempathy or empathy is picking up vibrations and absorbing it into yourself, and that again is ruled by the element of spirit. So we have a clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, clairsalience, which is clear smelling, clairgustance, which is clear tasting, clairsentience, which is to feel something. Then we have clairtangency, which is clear touching, and clairgonsence, I can't even say that, which is clear knowing. Let's say clear knowing. Knowing something that is not given to you, but you hear it from the world of the spirits. The world of our spirits, usually when they give us information, that comes from the realm of claircognizance, and that is from the ruled by the element of spirit. And clairempathy, to absorb emotions into ourselves from outside influences. Again, that is ruled by the element of spirit. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So any animal that flies in the sky is ruled by air. Any animal or plant that lives in deserts burrow themselves in hot lands is ruled by fire. Anything swimming in the water is ruled by water. And any animal that lives in the woodlands, that lives in the forest, is ruled by earth. So we have our flying birds, anything that flies in the air. Okay, we have our scorpions, we have our lions that live in the deserts. We have our whales, we have our fishes, we have our dolphins. we have our reindeers, we have our bears, we have anything that lives within the forest, and they're all ruled by the elements. There are 12 zodiac in the astrology, and they're also ruled by the elements. So we're going to start with air, okay? And air rules the astrology signs of Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. Then we have fire, and fire rules Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Then we have water, and water rules Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. And then lastly, we have earth, and earth is Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. So I'm going to shut down the video now because I'm sure it's getting long, but I just want to give you some last visuals because I like to show a lot of visuals on the elements, okay? Because we ascribe to the elements both passive and both aggressive qualities, both yin and both yang. So we're going to start with I guess we're going to start with fire. Just want to show you something. Here's a candle. I have it lit. Now watch this. I can pass my finger through it, but I cannot penetrate it. All I can do is move the fire to the side. Do you see what I'm saying? Just want you to see that. I don't know if you can see that. All I can do is push the fire to the side, but I cannot physically penetrate the fire. Okay? Remember, fire is ruled. Okay. Then we have incense. Incense is air. And again, here's the smoke. I cannot penetrate it. What all I can do is physically, as I pass my finger through the smoke, I could push it to the side, but I cannot physically penetrate it. Now I want you to see earth. Here's earth. Okay, we all know that I can take my finger and I can penetrate into the earth. Okay? And here's my finger, showing that I can penetrate. So I could put my finger into the earth. The same thing with water. Here's a glass of water, and here's my finger, and I can penetrate that. You see that? I'm penetrating the water, but I cannot, no matter how much I try, I'm going to light this one more time, no matter how much I try, I cannot penetrate the fire. I can push it to the side, but I cannot penetrate it. Okay? And again, with air, which is the incense, I can penetrate it or pass my finger through it and push it to the side, but I cannot physically penetrate the smoke. Okay? But I can do that with earth, and I can do that with water. I just wanted to give you a visual. In this sense, air and fire are of a masculine energy, an active energy. Okay? We ascribe that to yang. Okay? And then water and earth are of a passive, of a receptive energy. Okay? And we ascribe that to yin. Oftentimes, air and earth are viewed as masculine energies. Okay? And water and earth are viewed as feminine energies. Aggressive, passive. Yang, yin. Air and fire, active. Water and earth, receptive. Okay? Active and receptive. Plain and simple. Now we're going to look at the opposites of the elements. We're going to look at fire is opposite to water. Okay, fire and water, as air is opposite to earth. Okay, again, fire is opposite to water, as air is opposite to earth. Okay? Hopefully you're following along. Air is viewed as warm and moist. Fire is viewed as hot and dry. Water is viewed as cold and moist. And earth is viewed as cool and moist and dry. Cool and dry. Earth and water are viewed as heavy, and fire and air is viewed as light. Heavy, light. Earth is heavy, water is heavy. Fire is light, earth is light. So I'm going to end the video now, and hopefully I gave you the most basic fundamentals of the elements and how they are integral and important in your spiritual, your religious, your magical workings. They all must be there. You must have air, fire, water, and earth. They all reside within us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Our thoughts is air, our emotions are water, our physical skin is earth, our desires, our carnal hungers and all that is fire, and within us we have the spirit. And so these elements are represented in everything that I do, whether it's spiritually or magically. This is just the most basic and simple way that I can make sure you understand and grasp what I'm trying to teach here by showing you, physical things, and this is just a tip of the iceberg of what it is to understand the elements. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure it's long enough and I'm going to cut it short. If you have any questions, leave it down below. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Hit that like button. See that little bell button right there? Make sure you press that little bell button to get messages, receive messages when I post a new video. I hope you guys enjoy my videos. Much love, much respects. This is tu salsista favorito, salsista Brujo Luis. Much love, much respect. Los quiero mucho. Hopefully I was able to teach something today, and then you left with this video knowing something or learning something simple, and hopefully you'll get on to studying more about the elements and how important and how integral it is to use the elements within your spiritual working. And it goes deeper than that. It goes way deeper than that. But hopefully you liked it. Please hit that little bell button right there so you can get notifications when I put out new videos. Much love, much respect. Los quiero mucho, mucho, mucho. This is Salsista Brujo Luis. Ma, ma, ma. Chao pues. Adiós. Nos vemos.